Life does not destroy men in a single moment. It weakens them in silence, through slow, invisible chains they never notice until they can no longer move. These are not the obvious downfalls of failure, but the subtle traps of comfort, distraction, and false security. They promise ease but deliver stagnation. They whisper, "Stay where you are," while quietly stealing your potential. The strongest prisons are not built from stone and steel. They are forged in the mind through fear, regret, and surrender to the ordinary. Picture a man who conquers the world but cannot master himself, a warrior who defeats every enemy but remains enslaved to his own indulgences, a man who appears free yet is bound by unseen forces. History is filled with such men, once great, now forgotten, not because they lacked power, but because they fell into traps they never saw coming. But that will not be your fate, not if you open your eyes today. In this masterclass, you will uncover these hidden dangers before they take hold of you. You will learn from the wisdom of Stoic philosophers, the warnings of history's greatest minds, and the real stories of men who escaped these traps before they lost everything. And before we continue, take a moment to declare your strength. Drop a comment below. I will not be chained by the unseen. Let this be the first step toward reclaiming your mind. Now let's begin. 1. The trap of comfort, the silent death of great men. A man does not lose his edge all at once. His downfall is not written in a single tragic moment, but in a slow, quiet descent, one that he never notices until it is too late. It begins with an unnoticed compromise, a day without challenge, a promise to himself that is broken in silence. The greatest enemy of a man's potential is not failure nor defeat, it is comfort. Comfort is deceptive. It wraps itself in warmth and whispers that you have done enough, that you deserve to take it easy, that the battle is over. But this is the first step toward decline. The strongest men in history were never ruined by struggle. They were ruined by the illusion that they no longer needed to struggle. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He knew that life does not slip away in grand, obvious losses, but in the seconds we let pass without purpose. Comfort is not rest. It is decay disguised as peace, and the man who surrenders to it slowly becomes unrecognizable to himself. The hidden poison of comfort. History is filled with men who reached the peak of their power only to be undone, not by war, not by their enemies, but by their own complacency. Take Hannibal Barca, one of the greatest military minds to ever walk the earth. He did the impossible. He crossed the Alps, crushed Rome's finest legions, and stood at the edge of ultimate victory. The world was his to take, but in his moment of triumph, he hesitated. Instead of delivering the final blow, he chose to wait, convinced that time was on his side. It wasn't. Rome recovered, adapted, and struck back. The man who had once terrified an empire was eventually forced into exile, dying a forgotten exile rather than a victorious conqueror. This is not just an ancient tale, it is a pattern of life. The moment you stop moving forward, you start falling behind. The moment you settle into comfort, you unknowingly invite your own decline. Comfort is never permanent. It only lasts until someone stronger, hungrier, and more disciplined replaces you. You see it everywhere. A man builds his career with fire in his soul, only to lose it when he feels he has made it. An athlete dominates his sport but grows complacent once he reaches the top, only to be surpassed by the man who still trains in the dark. A man wins the love of an incredible woman but stops being the man she once admired. Slowly, the comfort he fought for turns into the very thing that weakens him. The Stoic cure. Pursue hardship before hardship finds you. The Stoics did not fear discomfort, they sought it out. They trained themselves to endure hunger even when food was abundant. They slept on the ground even when a bed was available. They walked in the cold without a cloak, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood a powerful truth. A man who embraces discomfort on his own terms is never controlled by it when it arrives uninvited. This is the difference between those who remain strong and those who fade away. The moment you allow comfort to dictate your actions, you surrender control. But when you train your mind to welcome hardship, you reclaim your power. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you did something that truly tested you? When was the last time you pushed yourself beyond the edge of comfort? If your life continued exactly as it is now, where would you be in 5 years? If you cannot answer these questions with confidence, you are already falling into the trap. But you are not too far gone. You can break free starting now. Drop a comment below. I will choose discomfort over decay. Let this be your first act of defiance against the slow death of comfort. 2. The trap of approval, the chains you place upon yourself. A man who lives for the approval of others is not living at all. He is performing. He does not act based on his own convictions, but adjusts himself like a puppet, waiting for applause that never lasts. No physical chains are necessary to enslave him. His own fear of judgment is enough. Why do you care so much about what others think? Why do their fleeting opinions weigh so heavily on your mind? Since childhood, you were conditioned to seek approval. Good behavior earned praise. High grades meant validation. Every small act of obedience came with a reward. You were trained to measure yourself by the approval of others. But what happens when you spend your entire life trying to please the world? You lose yourself. Marcus Aurelius saw this weakness in men long ago. In Meditations, he wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." Think about that. You are the only person who will live with your decisions for a lifetime. Yet you allow the fleeting opinions of others, who will forget you in days, to dictate your choices. And in today's world, the trap is even stronger. Social media has turned approval into currency. Men now measure their worth in likes, comments, and digital applause. They shape their personalities based on trends, afraid to stand alone, afraid to be disliked. But no great man ever changed the world by seeking approval. The man who defied the crowd. History is filled with men who refused to conform, who faced judgment, rejection, even death, because they valued truth over approval. One of the greatest examples is Socrates, the father of Western philosophy. He was condemned by his own city, Athens, not for committing any crime, but for questioning the system. He challenged authority, refused to accept shallow thinking, and taught men to seek wisdom over popularity. The people labeled him dangerous. They called him a corrupter of youth. And for this, they sentenced him to death. He could have begged for mercy. He could have changed his beliefs to gain favor. But Socrates did neither. He accepted his execution calmly, drinking the poison of his sentence with the same unwavering peace with which he had lived his life. That is power. That is true freedom. To live by your own principles, even when the world turns against you. Now ask yourself, would you have the strength to stand alone if the crowd turned on you? Are you living by your own convictions, or have you let the opinions of others shape your path? Most men today do not have an answer. They have spent so long bending to society's expectations that they no longer know who they are. But there is a way out. The Stoic solution: own your path completely. If you do not take control of your own life, someone else will, and they will shape you not for your benefit but for theirs. The Stoics knew this, which is why they trained themselves to be immune to praise and criticism alike. They understood that the opinions of others are as fleeting as the wind, one moment in your favor, the next against you. If you build your life around them, you will always be at their mercy. Stop waiting for permission to live. Your dreams, your goals, no one else will see them the way you do. No one else will fight for them the way you must. If you base your decisions on what others expect, you will never truly live for yourself. So I ask you again, are you living the life you want or the life others expect from you? If no one's approval mattered, what would you do differently? It is time to break free. It is time to reclaim your mind. Drop a comment below. I will stop seeking approval. Let this be your first act of defiance against the illusion of validation. 3. The trap of emotion. When feelings become your master. A man who is ruled by his emotions is no different from a ship caught in a violent storm, directionless, unstable, and at the mercy of forces beyond his control. One moment he is calm and composed, the next he is consumed by anger, fear, or despair. Instead of acting with purpose, he reacts without thinking. And that is exactly how a weak man lives, enslaved by his own impulses. Emotions themselves are not the enemy. The Stoics never preached the elimination of emotion. What they feared was the man who could not master them. A man who allows his anger to dictate his words, who lets his fear paralyze him, who succumbs to fleeting emotions and makes permanent mistakes. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." True strength is not found in uncontrolled passion or reckless rage. It is found in the man who can stand in the middle of chaos and remain unmoved. The price of losing control. History is filled with men who built empires, commanded legions, and conquered the world, only to be destroyed by their own unchecked emotions. One of the most tragic examples is Alexander the Great, a man who had everything: power, brilliance, and the loyalty of his warriors. But in 331 BC, his emotions cost him something he could never regain. During a drunken argument, his closest friend and general Cletus insulted him. In a fit of uncontrollable rage, Alexander grabbed a spear and struck him down, killing the man who had once saved his life in battle. The moment the anger faded, regret consumed him. He wept over Cletus's body, but it was too late. No matter how much he mourned, he could not undo the damage his uncontrolled emotions had caused. Ask yourself, how many times have you reacted in anger only to regret it later? How many opportunities have you lost because fear held you back? How often has your inability to control your emotions cost you something valuable? Weak men justify their emotional outbursts. Strong men take responsibility for them. The Stoic solution: master. Your reactions' control over your emotions does not mean suppressing them, it means owning them instead of letting them own you. It means responding with reason, not reacting with impulse. The Stoics practiced this daily. Seneca advised that when anger rises, delay your response, because time cools even the fiercest rage. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events, but from our perceptions of them, meaning that our emotions are within our control. So before you react in any situation, ask yourself, is this response based on emotion or logic? Will this reaction serve my future or destroy it? Am I the master of my emotions, or have I let them become my master? A man who can control his anger controls his fate. A man who can silence his fears can walk into any battle with confidence. A man who can rise above temporary emotions becomes unstoppable. So tell me, are you in control of your emotions, or are they in control of you? Drop a comment below. I will master my emotions. Let this be your first step toward true power. 4. The trap of excuses. The disease that kills. Potential excuses are the foundation of a wasted life. They are the quiet whispers of weakness, the subtle lies that convince a man to settle for less than he is capable of becoming. Every excuse is a small surrender, a silent admission of defeat. And yet most men cling to them as if they were shields, when in reality they are chains. Tell me if you've heard these before. I'll start tomorrow. I don't have time. It's too hard. Weak men live by these words. They build their identities around them. They use them as justifications for why they remain stuck, why they never take action, why they watch other men rise while they stay behind. But here is the truth. Every excuse you tell yourself is a choice to stay weak, a choice to remain comfortable, a choice to give up before you've even started. The Stoics had no patience for this mindset. Epictetus was born a slave, but did he use that as an excuse to stay powerless? But he became one of the greatest philosophers in history. He said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop caring about what others think. Stop expecting the path to be easy. Just begin. The man who refused. Excuses. History is filled with men who had every reason to make excuses, but instead they took action. Take Theodore Roosevelt, for example. As a child, he was weak, sickly, and constantly battling asthma. The easy path would have been to accept his fate, to live a life of fragility. But he refused. He trained his body relentlessly, lifting weights, boxing, and forcing himself into the harshest environments. He transformed himself into one of the toughest, most resilient men in history. And he lived by a simple rule. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. No complaints, no waiting for the perfect conditions, only action. Now ask yourself, what is the excuse that has been holding you back? What would happen if, just for one day, you refused to give in to it? Because here's the reality. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect opportunity. The only thing you have is this moment, right now. And what you do with it will determine whether you remain stagnant or rise above. The Stoic solution. Destroy the excuses, take action. Seneca warned, while we waste our time hesitating and postponing, life is slipping away. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait forever. If you allow small challenges to become reasons for inaction, you will spend your life watching other men build legacies while you make excuses. It is time to make a decision. Will you stay weak or will you rise? Will you continue waiting or will you act? There is no in-between. Excuses are a choice, and today you choose to reject them. Drop a comment below. No more excuses. Let this be the first action of many, the war against the silent traps. These traps are everywhere. They are woven into the fabric of modern life, disguised as comfort, validation, emotions, and excuses. Most men never recognize them. They live their entire lives unaware, drifting deeper into weakness, wondering why they feel unfulfilled, powerless, and lost. But you are not like most men, because now you see them. And the moment you become aware of a trap, it loses its power over you. You can no longer pretend you don't know. You can no longer blame the world for your failures. You have no excuse to fall into them. The Stoics taught that self-awareness is the first step to mastery. But knowing is not enough. You must act. Comfort will seduce you, but now you will seek discomfort instead. The approval of others will tempt you, but now you will walk your own path. Emotions will rise and try to control you, but now you will master them. Excuses will whisper in your ear, but now you will silence them with action. This is the war you must fight daily. The battle against weakness. The war against complacency. The war for your own greatness.